School Board regular meeting for tonight, Thursday, August 1st, 2024. Mr. Daniels and Mr. Knight have made me aware that they will not be present for tonight's meeting. Ms. Johnson, if you will, take the roll.
Mr. Hill,
Here.
Mr. Holbrook,
Here.
Dr. Hubach,
Here.
Mr. Nelms,
Here.
Mrs. Purvis.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to allow board members to participate remotely in the August 1st, 2024 regular meeting in accordance with BCPS policy BDD as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Hubach. Second?
Yep.
And a second by Mr. Nelms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, welcome to the meeting, Ms. Purvis.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion for the approval of agenda for August 1st, 2024 as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Holbrook, I have a second by Dr. Hubach. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. If you will, please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to staff reports 2.01, fiscal year 2024 year-end forecast. Mr. Haglund.
Yes, good evening. In front of you tonight is a review of the financials in regards to how we ended the year as of June 30th, 2024. Once again, just a reminder, these are unaudited financial statements. We'll be going through that throughout this period and probably finishing up with the audit in October. So there may be changes to this once we get through that, and we'll bring that audited report to you once that's completed by our outside auditors. First page that we'll review here is the revenue side, and this is just the operating fund. So these are some numbers up on the board, but the detailed financial report is online. You can see that overall ended the year about $609,000 below budget. And if you look a little bit further up on that, sales tax was the biggest driving factor of that. I will remind all the board members here that this document and the numbers were reviewed with the Finance Committee, and a lot of discussion on that, and but it's about year end and how some things can apply for the future. But the Finance Committee reviewed all this with us several weeks ago. So on the revenue side, a little bit below budget, off $122 million kind of budget, $609,000 below budget on that. Sales tax was about $822 below. So that was the biggest driving factor over the whole thing. Less than 0.5% off from projection. So pretty close to what we were projecting for the year. We'll continue to watch sales tax as we go into the current year. And talking to the Finance Committee, sales tax is one of the unknowns. We really don't know the entire amount we're going to receive until the very end of the year. So it's a variable that I can't just lock down and anticipate this is what our revenue is going to be. So we have to watch that very closely and adjust our budget if there's fluctuations with that. I'll stop here and see if there's any questions on the revenue side of the operating fund there. Okay. We go to the next page, we're looking at the expenditure side of the operating fund and each of the major categories there. And total under budget there is closer to $4.1 million. Now that looks very healthy, came in under budget a lot, but there's some little bit more details that we got to get into there and make an adjustment to that. Mid-year, the state had a supplemental or an amended budget that they approved that went into effect January 1st, and that included quite a bit of money from an all-in grant. Now, what they did is they sent all that money to us this year, but we have 3 years in which to spend it. So part of that ending balance is cash that has been forwarded to us, but we have to spend it in a specific way over the next 2 years. We've already started spending that down this year. So that's one area that needs to be adjusted. There was another security grant that they awarded late May, early June, sent us the money for $80,000. We did not have time to turn that around, so that's part of our cash ending balance. But that has to be spent very specifically in the way that it was awarded out to us. So when you put the negative revenue under budget and the under budget of the expenditure side, ending balance is projected at about 3.5 million. Once you make adjustments for that all-in money and also that security grant, I've got a slide here for that. We are looking at roughly an adjusted ending balance of about $745,000. Those two grants that I mentioned will come to you later in this meeting as supplemental appropriations because we have to spend it that way or we have to send the money back to the state. There is no wiggle room on that. So really our ending balance off a $122 million budget is about $745,000, which is once again very close, less than 0.5% to what we were budgeting. So very narrow margin there, but I'm happy to report. I think the finance committee is like, what if it was negative? We can't be negative. And if we were in bad shape or if the sales tax fell or something else, the revenues, we would be working with the committee and the whole board on how do we adjust our expenditure side to bring us in on budget during the year. So happy to report a good ending year budget on that. We'll be bringing that $745,000 as a reappropriation later in the meeting. That would go to the Board of Supervisors. I'll talk about that later in the meeting on where we would want that money to go. So, any questions on the expenditure side? The next few pages on the report give a little bit more detail by go into subcategories, but those were the major categories. So I'll turn to the other funds because that covers the operating fund. And the first one we'll go to is nutrition. So nutrition, over the several years that we were in COVID, a lot of money flowed in from the federal government and the state and requirements from the federal government. We have to spend the ending balance that we have accumulated in there. We had to spend that down. They wanted to see us spend that down at least 1.5 million less than we had in our ending balance previously. Over this year, we spent about $1 million more than revenue coming in. I know that's shocking, but we had to actually intentionally start spending that money down. Spoke to the finance committee about that long-term we have to watch that fund. The revenues coming in, the expenditures, we're going to bring back additional information to the finance committee at our next meeting about a school-by-school profit and loss and what measures the supervisor of nutrition, Suzanne Quisenberry, is going to be putting in place to monitor this next year. We can't continue to spend $1 million over what we bring in. So, but we had to start escalating expenditures, and now we're going to ratchet that back a little bit. So more to come on that. But I will say also, there is a calculation. So with the free and reduced lunch money we get from the federal government, that's the program they call it, is that they do a calculation on what do you have to charge for a full meal that's not reimbursable. It has to be very close to what the reimbursable is. During the COVID years, we kind of fell a little bit farther behind. We didn't do an increase last year. We're actually about $1 behind what we should be charging for a lunch. We're going to go up 50 cents this year and another 50 cents the following year. Those are required increases that we have to do for the program where we get that money from the federal government. I know you might get calls on that, but that's publicly. We've put out information on that, but that's a requirement that you have to charge very close to your reimbursable rate. You can't charge a lot less than that, and we have to kind of make up that dollar. We're going to do it over a 2-year period. Any questions in regard to the nutrition fund? Okay. Textbook fund, it's in good shape. We did not have an adoption this year. Began the year with about $1 million, ending the year with about $1.4 million. So we are building that fund up so when we have the next major adoption, that we'll have funds set aside for that. A lot of the adoptions now come that are electronic. So in the past, you could say we're not going to replace that book this year, and you just kind of put tape around it, or you kind of extend the life of that book. A lot of the materials we get are electronic now. So when that contract's up, you lose the data license to that material. That's anything for online. We do get books also. It's a combination of both. So we've got to make sure that fund stays in a healthy. I work with Dr. Woodford and we project like the next 8 years out. When are the adoptions? What do we estimate for the adoptions? And routine things that we buy each and every year. You can see that on our local revenue last year, we put in $200,000. In the current budget year, we're going to be putting $300,000. We're going to continue to ratchet that up to about a $500,000 level over the next 2 or 3 years. We think that will get us to the level we need to for long term to maintain the textbook fund. Any questions in regard to the textbook fund? The maintenance reserve fund, a little bit more complex because there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of this is reviewed with the maintenance committee. Beginning year of $9.2 million that had kind of gone up. We had $3.9 million coming in our appropriation and about $2.6 million there delayed revenues from reimbursements for CARES Act. Year-to-date expenditures for the year were $5.5 million, and then we actually have reserve for ongoing projects. These are projects that are kind of already in the CIP. We've already put out bids. We're already in the process. They will be done next summer or thereabouts. So another $5 million there. So our ending balance is right. My projected balance that is not allocated to projects right now is $5 million. We will be bringing an updated CIP document that was reviewed by the facility committee for the whole board to vote on. And in that, you can see in future years that balance will get lower because there's some big projects that are coming that we need to build up the cash reserves for, especially the 3 HVAC projects at the 3 high schools. We're estimating around $5 million each for those. That would wipe out that entire balance and we couldn't do anything else. So we've got to build up to those levels so we have the cash to do that. So we're in good shape on the maintenance reserve, and we'll give further update later in the meeting on the CIP, which plans out the next 5 years. So if there's any questions on that fund.
As far as advertising what we have done over the last 12 months, is there a way for us to, because I think it's important because, roofs are not pretty to look at.
Yep.
But, the public needs to understand we're spending dollars on maintenance. So, I would only know, as a parent, I may only know that Otter River was getting a new roof because I rode by and saw the flags on top. But I think it's important for us to, let the public know what we're spending these dollars on. And I don't know if it's something maybe Kristen can put out on our social media just to share. Here's what we've taken care of.
We can do that because when you look at the CIP document, I'll present future, it's like those are in the past.
Yep.
We're looking at what's the plan, when can people expect things to be done with their schools in the future. The facility committee has worked through all that, so once we're done with the project, it kind of rolls off or the year rolls off. So if we look back 12 months, I'll work with her and we'll get a document ready
I
that.
just think it's important to highlight we've done a lot of good work, and got a lot of maintenance and facility improvements done, and I think that needs to be put out there so people understand what
We'll get that together and get that publicized, and if the public wants to see what's coming in the future, the CIP, 5-year CIP document that the board looks at.
I know I've said this before, but I'll mention it again, and I don't know if we can, but when we estimate how much something is gonna cost, that kind of puts it out there of what we're willing to pay. And to me, it skews maybe sometimes when we get estimates. I may be wrong, but I don't know if there's a way for us, do we have to put a dollar beside, or can we just put, here's what our balance is for the year? And that way we're not showing, we're willing to pay $1.2 million for this HVAC.
Yeah, I don't think there's a requirement. We have to put a dollar figure. It's really for planning purposes on how much cash do we think we're going to need for a particular year and spreading it out.
Right.
We could probably move away from that. To be honest, a lot of these numbers are probably 4 or 5 years old and probably a little bit on the lighter side. But we don't know until we put it out for bid.
Yeah. Okay.
There are some bids that came in very close to where we thought they were, and then some a lot higher. And so we do all we can with the committee and their input to minimize the overall cost while producing a good product for the school. Let me look into that. The plan tonight does have dollars on that, but if we choose to move away from that and just say this is our plan, in the background we might have some idea, but the plan that we're going to produce is not going to have dollar
Our
figures.
overall planned budget to spend is
Yeah.
X, and just list the projects. It doesn't have to be tied to the project.
And
So,
we're giving a general idea for the community, like when can you expect something for your school?
Yeah.
That's
Gotcha.
coming forward.
Okay.
We'll look into that. I'm going to count I put numbers with everything, so we'll see about that. It might go against my nature, but I understand the concern.
Yep.
The self-insured fund, you know, a lot of the other funds looked real well. This is probably where we took a little bit of hit this year. So if you look at our beginning balance, $6.8 million reserved to pay for claims, reinsurance, dental, health. We've now moved to self-insured on vision. So that takes care of also pharmaceutical. So a lot of costs in there, administrative costs. And you can see our ending balance was about around $5 million. Thank you, Barry. I almost made it. So that's about a $1.8 million reduction in our balance. Now, to be honest with you, is that all because we had a lot of, in the insurance industry, they estimate probably 1 out of 8 years, you're just gonna have a bad year where you're gonna see an erosion of your balances. I'm hoping that was this, and then we can gain that back next year. However, if this was more to do with overall inflationary pressure in the medical industry or higher costs of drugs, which is happening, then we'll have to watch and see what we need to do with our premiums in the future. Because we had enough reserves that we didn't have to go up 20 or 30% this year. We went up 7% on our premiums this year. If the claims continue to be this bad, we'll probably have to go up another 7 and another 7 because we're gonna have to keep pace with that. If we see a decrease in the amount of claims and large dollar claims, hopefully we can build our reserve. We don't see an erosion of that going forward. So we're watching this. We do quarterly meetings with our insurance company and our pharmaceutical, and we get data back on that and what we're seeing, large dollar claims and what we're expecting in the future on this. So I will say overall in the medical industry, I don't know if this is all inflationary. I don't know any plans that can sustain this long-term into the future. And that's something, as a country, we're gonna have to watch. But for our plan, we're still in good shape. We have plenty of reserves. I will say for the new board members, if we projected our run-out claims, if we said we're not gonna be self-insured anymore and we went fully insured, we expect, or our consultants projected about a $2 million run-out on our claims. So if we had to have $2 million to switch back to fully insured, we still have, about $3 million in reserves for those bad years, and we can level, and we don't have to jump in our premiums as much if we just had very little reserves. So, be happy to answer any questions about that. This was probably the hard thing to watch this year. Any questions about the self-insured fund?
Just on a functional basis. Not the numbers so much, but in terms of what it means to be self-insured versus fully insured, right? So what, self-insured, it sounds like a collective thing that everybody premiums come into the school system and it all gets paid out of that. But it
Yes.
sounds like you have an insurance company that backs that, or is
The
kind of a
insurance,
safety net.
yeah, so there's several parts happening in this. So a fully insured is just that. An insurance company will quote you the rates, and that's the rates. You have no exposure for that particular year. If it's bad, they eat the cost. If it's good, they make money. So it's kind of like you don't get it back necessarily. With a fully insured, with a self-insured fund, you pay the claims as you go. So we get bills from Anthem, from Optum, from Delta Dental each week, twice a month. And whatever the claims are, we pay for those. We also pay the administrative costs because they have the back-end systems to manage all this with the doctors and the providers in the hospitals. So we pay an administrative fee. That's not the biggest part of the cost. It's really the claims and the discount networks that they have access to. So you're exactly right. So we're on the hook for however bad a year there is. Now, there could be a bad year that could destroy your plan, so we do buy reinsurance or stop-loss insurance. Any claim over $275,000, the insurance company takes care of, the stop-loss insurance company. And then if you had a catastrophic overall in your plan, if we had $11.8 million in claims, we have a catastrophic that doesn't cost a lot, but it's there for overall protection, that if we went up to like $13 million, we wouldn't pay anything else. It wouldn't destroy all of our reserves. Long term, we'd have to figure out what to do with that. So yes, we have stop loss to prevent catastrophic in a given year, but we pay our claims as we go. Was that helpful?
Very good.
And I will say this, in a bad year, the insurance company eats the cost, but I don't know insurance companies that are in it to lose money, so your renewal rate's probably gonna be higher, so they can regain that. In the good years, they didn't have to pay out as much, they keep it. In the good years, we're keeping it and build up our reserves for the bad years. So we're keeping it, if we have a good year, we keep the money and we build those reserves up, which has been very successful. There was probably a 5-year run where we didn't increase premiums at all. And that's probably unheard of. And we just had a good reserve runs and good runs during those years, so we didn't have to do as much in the current year. I know that was a long explanation, but some new members of the board needed to hear that. So, any other questions on that? And that takes care of my financial report, and I only forgot to advance it one time, so a lot better.
All right, moving on to 3.01, 5-year capital improvement plan, Mr. Hagler.
Yes, in front of you tonight is, this has been reviewed by the facility committee. And this is our guiding document. Behind the scenes on this, the maintenance department and myself work on the next 20 years. And we've worked with the facility committee on how long do we expect an HVAC system to last, how long do we expect a roof to last, and then we say, okay, if it's gonna last 20 years, when does it next come out in line? So anybody that comes behind me can say in 2035, we've gotta bring a new thing on. So this is kind of like looking at when things were done in the past, when we need to replace them, and it does have estimates in there, as we discussed earlier. But this is when we can anticipate things being done in the next 5 years. We have aggregated some things at the very top. We have a contingency for things that might break that we didn't anticipate, $500,000. And then also like painting, paving, gym floors, all aggregated together. The bigger systems are listed and what we're projecting there. Down below on the bottom, just kind of forecasting our cash balance there on what happened and where we're moving money and how we're manipulating, like that, the reappropriation I'm gonna ask for later, pumping that into there to boost up that balance and making sure we can get these projects done. So it looks like for the next 5 years that we're in good shape. I will draw attention to, if you look at the 27-28 year, you see $8.7 million of revenue going in there. That's preparing for reversion. Once reversion is ended, all that money will shift over to the operating fund for the loss in state money that we'll receive from the state because of the favorable LCI we're receiving right now. So you can look at the 28-29 year. Right now, there's zero revenue budgeted there. We will have to work with the finance committee and the overall board. You cannot sustain all of our buildings in the system with $0 going in long term. So we've got some hard work to do to go in front of us, not only to prepare for reversion, but beyond reversion to maintain our buildings. To get up to 8.7 in 1 year would be catastrophic because you'd have to cut your operating by that much to get that money in there. But over a long term, the finance committee and the overall board will have to look to the future on how to get more money into that fund going forward. Any questions? I believe this was for information that's come
I have a
back.
question.
Yes.
Okay.
I noticed on the 25-26 year, you have $5 million for new HVAC at Sand River and another one for Liberty High School. And I know that was a high estimate for the HVAC that we had here in well, I guess I don't know if they actually did it. I know that the facilities committee was working on getting that lower. Is that a possibility for those two as well?
Well, when we bid those documents out, when we bid those schools out, it'll depend on how wide a scope you want to go. You've got control issues, you've got HVAC issues, you've got boiler and all that. So with the facility committee, how big that project becomes will also drive the cost. So if you think you don't have to replace the boiler, or you want to go with not replacing controls or go a little bit cheaper on that, then it scales back. The documents for bidding this out have not even started. We haven't engaged an architectural engineering firm to start this. We will start doing that this fall to hit the 26 year. These will not be done next summer.
Right.
For frame of reference, TJ and Goodview were in the $2.5 million range. And so these are entire high schools. So once again, $5 5 million, it might be 6, it might be 4. It depends on the scope and what we're bidding out at that time. And it also depends on how hungry or how busy the vendors are also and how the bids come in. So there's a lot of factors that come into that. So if those projects were to come in higher than that, then future projects would have to be pushed off to future years if we don't have the revenue. So each year, kind of, we go forward with that and we adjust future years based upon what the bids are coming in and how the revenues look.
Thank you.
So this will come back to the next meeting, and in the future, I did tell the finance committee, we'll try to have this document ready for the budget process, so you're voting on not only the operating budget, you're also voting on the CIP project, really for the next 5 years. But from a management standpoint for the maintenance crew, and for me, it's really the next year that we're gonna really focus on and go after. Other things can be changed later down the road. Right.
Any other questions? 3.02 supplemental appropriations, Mr. Hagler.
Yeah, 2 of those supplementals I've already spoken to. Those documents are there for the board to review, bring them back in September. And then in the second meeting in September, I'll take those to the board of supervisor because it is amending the budget. One of those is for the Stronger Connections grant. This was to do with a security grant. We were awarded that last year, did a supplemental for that last year, but the work, we didn't get to the work till this summer. So we haven't expended any of it, we haven't reimbursed it. So both this will both go in. We expected a lot of this work to be done over the summer, and we will spend the money and also get reimbursed for this. So that's the Stronger Connections grant for $342,000. The ESSER 3 grant is just left remaining money. This is the last bit of money from COVID. We had probably 8 different buckets of money come into us. This is the last remaining. This is really paying out teachers that were being used for ESSER 3 last year. We continue to pay those teachers out in July and August for last year on their contract. This money will just run out those contracts, and we'll have this all expended here pretty shortly. The deadline for spending all the money is September 30th, and we'll be fine. So that's just, at the time I built the budget, I didn't know how much ESSER money I was gonna have left over because there were other things going on. So I did not budget that in the original budget. This would be a supplemental for that. Any questions on those two?
No questions?
Okay.
All right. 3.03, again, Mr. Hagler.
All right, so this is the end of year balance, which I spoke to early on the financial report. This comes to the whole board and then goes to the board of supervisors for approval. This is called a reappropriation rather than supplemental. And I go through the same numbers I went through earlier. So we're asking that 2.7 roughly for the all-in Virginia be reappropriated to the operating fund. So I'll build in revenue and expenditures for that. So those will zero each other out. 80,000 to the operating fund for the security grant from the state. And the $745,000 true adjusted ending balance in our operating fund to move that to the maintenance reserve fund for future projects to get those accomplished. So this is being presented to you tonight, will be brought back at the next meeting for approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on this.
Questions regarding the carryover? 3.04 policy updates, Mr. DePere.
The Intergovernmental Affairs Committee met on July 11th, 2024 to review the following provisions of 7 policies. BBBC, Board Member Oath of Office Policy, last reviewed in 2015, no proposed changes except the addition of school in the title of the policy to specify school board and to remove the purpose statement in consistency with all other policies. The second is BCG, School Board Legal Representation, new policy regarding the school board's authorization to obtain legal counsel and services. DJA, Purchasing Authority, proposed edits including removing the purpose statement, moving a paragraph, changing the word to provide consistency with all other policies, and adding cross-references. EBCD, School Closings, updates to reflect the provision that the superintendent and the superintendent's designee may declare an unscheduled remote learning day if needed when schools are closed due to weather or emergency conditions. EC, Buildings and Grounds Management and Maintenance, no proposed changes except for the removal of the purpose statement and the changes in wording in consistency with all other policies and cross-reference updated. And final, GCBDD, Sick Leave Bank, policy last reviewed in 2013. Proposed revisions include changing the initial amount of days required to be donated by a sick leave bank member, the date range to turn in the membership forms, and the maximum number of days that can be drawn out, as well as making the HR department responsible for sick leave bank requests.
All right. Any questions regarding the policy updates? And those will be brought back next month for us to approve. All right, we will skip over public comment until, since we've got some time before 6 o'clock. Additional action items, Mr. Hagler, 6.01 land purchase.
Yes. The board has directed me, and we've been in negotiations for some property adjacent to Stanton River High School, across the street from Flint Hill Road, along that section, for about 16 acres. We have negotiated back and forth with the property owner, have come to an agreement that for a price tag of $275,000 for that property. And so I've communicated with the property owner, they agree to that amount. So asking the board to go ahead and take action tonight to go ahead and authorize me to do whatever legal documents and finalize that land transaction to purchase that property. Future use of this property could be for athletics right across the street, so it's in close proximity to Stanton River High School. The board thought it would be a good idea to have this land in reserve for whatever future we may want to use that for. Be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve the land purchase as presented by Mr. Hagler?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, I'm gonna go with Mr. Holbrook. At 3. All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, land purchase is approved. All right, 6.02, approval of policy updates presented at the July 11th, 2024 board meeting. Mr. DePere.
The following 5 policies were previously presented as an information item in July 11th, 2024 school board meeting. They are ECA, inventory and reporting of loss or damage. Changes include clarification that the superintendent is responsible for implementing inventory procedures, including determining a monetary threshold of fixed assets. GCQB, professional staff research and publishing. Policy language has been updated, but the substance is unchanged in that the board retains copyright of all work produced by employees when acting in their official capacity. Policy GD, support staff, no proposed changes except the removal of the purpose statement in consistency with all other policies and updates to cross-reference. Policy JHCF, student wellness, updates to reflect state-required language based on federal program monitoring of the school nutrition programs. And lastly, policy JM, restraint and seclusion of students, policy updated to include additional language that seclusion of students is permitted only for emergency purposes by trained staff members when personal safety and staff of students or students is jeopardized.
All right. Any questions from Mr. DePere on those policies that were presented last month? Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Hubach. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Did she say aye? I'm sorry. Okay, all right, so we're good. All right, so 6.02 is approved. All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A 119-1 to to discuss the assignment, appointment, performance, disciplining, and release of contract for specific school board employees. 19, for discussion of plans to protect school safety in consultation with law enforcement officials where discussion in an open meeting would jeopardize the security of school facilities.
Have a motion by Mr. Holbrook. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we're in closed session.
You guys slid all the way over that way.
It was on.
Chairs. $1,000.
He said.
Guess if you said it once, then you probably need it. Still. Adjustable back and everything.
Can somebody let me through this door?
Jim.
I'm gonna check just to see if she's still.
She's on.
All right, do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr.
Second.
Holbrook. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
All right, we are out of closed session. Ms. Johnson, if you will certify.
Whereas the Bedford County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And where Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bedford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered. Mr. Holbrook?
Yes.
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 Mrs. Purvis?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
All right. So we come out of closed session. We're going to go into public comment. The public comment portion of tonight's agenda is limited to 40 minutes. Speakers are asked to state their name and voting district. The school board is here to listen to your comments, but will not engage or respond to speakers during this 40-minute period. Please remember that this is a public meeting and that we expect all speakers to refrain from any foul, profane, abusive, or hateful language during their comments or any time while in attendance during this meeting. We also ask that speakers keep their remarks objective and about the school in nature. Please keep all comments limited to matters related to the public schools, and any comments that are harassing or amount to a personal attack against any identifiable individual, whether board member or staff or student, or having the potential to cause unnecessary delay or disruption to this meeting are prohibited. This is a public meeting for public matters. If a speaker is not present when their name is called, we will proceed with the next name on the list. An individual who has not signed up to speak may not substitute for that time slot. Individuals will have 4 minutes to address the board. An alarm will sound when an individual has 30 seconds remaining, and a second alarm will sound when the allotted 4 minutes have expired. When the second alarm sounds, please discontinue speaking and allow the next person in line to come to the podium. Should you be unable to finish your comments, please send or give them to Ms. Johnson, and she will give them to board members. Please do not adjust the microphone at the podium as it has been positioned for optimum audio quality. All right, Teresa Pregnall.
Well, good evening, board. It's been a while since I've been here with you, but thank you so much for all that you're doing in preparation for the new school year. It's right before us. I can't believe it. But my name is Teresa Pregnall. I'm in District 5, and I wanted to introduce myself to those of you who may not know me, who are new on the board, and to our new superintendent, Dupere. And that is the correct pronunciation, okay? I am state director with Concerned Women for America of Virginia, and I felt that it was necessary and needful for me to welcome you, Superintendent Dupere, to Bedford County. We have many members here in Bedford County and across the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we want to welcome you to our part of the country. I understand you've come from Florida, and we love Florida as well, but we're grateful to have you here in Bedford County. I also wanted to, Concerned Women for America of Virginia, we are a Christian organization, and I wanted to offer up a prayer for our new superintendent. So if you would bow your head with me and just pray with me as we ask the Lord's blessing on our new superintendent. Father God, we thank you for calling William Dupere to the Bedford County Public School System to serve as our superintendent. We believe that he brings just the right skill set and work experience needed to this most important role within our county. We thank the Bedford County School Board members who worked tirelessly to find just the right person they believed would be able to oversee the implementation of policies and achieve goals given in a timely and effective manner. We pray for Superintendent Dupere, a teachable servant spirit and a spirit of humility as he sets the standard day in and day out for principals, teachers, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and all who work with the children of Bedford County. Help him to remember, Lord, that his work outside of his office among the employees of Bedford County Public Schools, that this is just as important as his official office work, and that building relationships with those workers as well as parents, grandparents, and the children themselves is of utmost importance. I pray for Superintendent Dupere that he would make time to offer kind words of affirmation, and that you would remind him daily of the importance of giving thanks for all things, even all people, as he seeks to implement policies approved and works to achieve goals given by the Bedford County School Board. We pray for Superintendent Dupere's relationships with the elected Bedford County School Board members, understanding that setting policies, goals, and objectives for the county belongs to them, and that the governance or administration of these policies belongs to him as superintendent. I pray that there would be mutual respect, appreciation, and esteem between the two offices. I pray that the superintendent would be a voice of encouragement to the board as they seek to provide the best possible public education. Lord, again, we thank you for Superintendent Dupere. We believe that he is your choice for Bedford County for such a time as this. In Jesus' name, amen.
There are no other slots signed up for tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right.
Good evening. My name is Amy Sneed. I'm in District 7. I'm coming to you tonight not representing any organization, but just sharing an event with you that I think is important to all of us. The thing that we share in common is that we care very deeply about our children. And Virginia's Attorney General, Jason Miyares, is hosting a town hall. It's in partnership with the Bedford County Sheriff's Department, also with ICAC, our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, as well as the Office of the Commonwealth Attorney, Bethany Harris in Lynchburg. It's taking place on Thursday, August 15th, so just during that first week of school. And it is a town hall format, so you'll have an opportunity to ask questions related to how to keep our kids safe online. So I'm going to share this information with all of you electronically. I would love, this is not a political event or a partisan event. This is simply about how to protect our children online. I'll share this with you all by email. I would love if this could be sent out to parents that are a part of the Bedford County community, because I think we're all seeing every day the effects of the dangers that our children experience online, and they happen more and more frequently. This is not an issue that is going away. So I just wanted to let you all know about that. It's Thursday, August 15th from 5 to 6:30. It is being held in Bruner Hall at Thomas Road Baptist Church. And when you RSVP, you can submit your questions for the Attorney General then, and they'll be answered during that time. So I wanted to make you all aware of that event, and also for anyone that's watching online or listening in, that this is a really important opportunity to ask your questions all the way straight to the top. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sneed. All right, we have time for others to speak. Is there anyone else? All right, seeing none, I will close tonight's public comment. All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, to go into closed session pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A 119-1 to discuss the assignment, appointment, performance, disciplining, and release of contract for specific school board employees, for discussion of plans to protect school safety and consultation with law enforcement officials, where discussion in an open meeting would jeopardize the security of school facilities.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Holbert. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Nelms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are in closed session. And Ms. Purvis, you'll need to hang up and call back to the other.
Okay.
do it Saturday.
All right, do I have a motion to come out of closed session? All right, I have a motion by Dr. Buck. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are out of closed session. Ms. Johnson, if you'll certify.
Whereas the Bedford County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And where Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bedford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holbrook. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. All right, Superintendent's report. Mr. DePere?
Summer school graduation took place at Suzie G. this Tuesday, July 30th, celebrating the graduation of 4 students from Liberty High School, 4 students from Stanton River High School, and 13 students from Jefferson Forest High School. Congratulations to all those that completed their coursework, as well as those who graduated high school early. The Virginia Department of Education Superintendent Dr. Coons met with Region 5 superintendents and parents in attendance at Kate Collins Middle School yesterday. And we discussed the Youngkin Executive Order 33, establishing cell phone free education to promote the health and safety of Virginia's K-12 students. Dr. Coons is meeting with regions around the state this week to assess the present cell phone policies and gain a consensus on how to address the issue moving forward. The executive order is based and is addressing the need to make a profound effect on the data that has been collected since the inception of a smartphone in 2010 that shows significant increases in student anxiety, clinical depression, and suicide across the state and country. The discussions spoke to mental health concerns for both the present use and expected FOMO concerns in the event that student use is restricted because of the possible stricter state policy. Medical concerns and special accommodations are being discussed for possible exemptions. The board will continue to collect data over the next several weeks and make a final policy for the 15th of September. That policy would go in effect on January 1, 2025. Also, tomorrow, Bedford County Public School Division welcomes 164 new employees, with 60 being in staff and 104 being new teachers at Liberty Middle School, and we're excited about welcoming them to our school family. Also on the 2nd, which is tomorrow, Bedford County Public Schools will host its annual Pack the Bus event at the Bedford Walmart from 12 to 6. All residents are encouraged to contribute school supplies to those less fortunate. All participation is greatly appreciated. Next Monday, Bedford County Public School welcomes back to teachers for an in-service week. We're looking forward to a great week of preparing teachers for the August 12th opening of school. We also have open houses planned next week on August 8th between 12 and 7. Parents should contact their individual schools for general information about those times. Also at this time, I presently have 3 town halls established, starting in Stanton River on August 22nd, Liberty High School, and on August 29th, I will be at Jefferson Forest. So I'm going 20th, 22nd, and 29th in 3 of the high school zone areas, and my intent is start or continue a process that I've already started, and I'm doing a verbal SWOT with so far all of the central office employees, which has been great. Getting to know them. I have now made it through all all school campuses and done tours in most of them, and have been able to just sit down for an hour and 45, 2 hours, and just learn about them, learn about their school, and the great things that they're doing in their community. So the next progression is to be done with the administrative staff or teams at each high school, and then I'll move to volunteer teacher, probably like staff meetings after school, and then we'll end up with student council. So bear with me as I travel. If you can't find me, you'll know I'm in a school somewhere. It's giving me great research on the county, but also giving me a chance to understand who all of the different stakeholders are, and it's been a lot of fun just getting to know people. Also, the Bedford County Public Schools is continuing to receive updates on our accreditation information. 2 weeks ago, chronic absenteeism rates were sent for review based on preliminary data. 15 of our schools have level 1 indicator, which is the best for chronic absenteeism. Of those 15 schools, 9 improved to the level of 2 or 3 on the top level to the top level from this past school year. We have 4 schools, Bedford Primary, Bedford Elementary, Stanton River Middle, and Stanton River High School, who still need support on absenteeism, and we need cooperation between families and the communities to pull that off. Preliminary data for the College and Career Readiness Index has improved. We're still reviewing over those for accuracy. We have until August to certify those. Once they're certified, then the state will send us our final documentation. So we'll be able to come back next month and give a better update on where that all lands. There are 2 maintenance concerns tonight. Tomorrow, as I said, we open up new teacher orientation, and we do have we've had a problem today with air conditioner at Liberty Middle. That has been fixed, and hopefully it makes it through tomorrow's new teacher orientation. And the second incident that maintenance is working on right now is there is a domestic water leak. It's at Stewartsville, and the maintenance department is working on that and hopes to have that repaired by midweek. It is in the cafeteria area. So that's the 2 most pertinent maintenance issues right now. So that is my final report.
Thank you, sir. Start on this end, Dr. Kubak, do you have anything for committee reports?
The CPO committee met this past month, and we had some really good reports on full accreditation at Liberty Middle, which was exciting. We also got updates from Dr. Trosper on the curriculum implementation that's going to be going on, a lot of new training, a lot of stuff to pack in for the teachers this year with new curriculum stuff, but it was also very encouraging about new things that are happening. We also got updates from Kelly Jennings on what's going on with special education, and that too was encouraging. So,
no committee reports right now.
All right, Mr. Holbrook.
We had the facilities committee, the last meeting we had was June 27th. And we don't have one scheduled other than the PPEA meeting
mid-August.
in August. It's almost 8th, definitely. So, yeah, and we went over 5-year CIP plan, whatever Randy did. So that's all.
Okay. Ms. Purvis, did you have any updates for committee reports?
Not at the time.
All right, thank you. All right, from a finance committee, we met on July 22nd that morning, and one of the topics that come up was around middle school sports. And Mr. Hagler, you're going to have to keep me honest here, but I want to say it was around $327,000 is what we had said would cost us to implement middle school sports. Through some initiatives of savings that the board has implemented, and also Mr. Hagler has found some significant savings. We have about 260,000 currently of that 327. I firmly believe that through Finance Committee and work with Mr. Dupere and his team that we would be able to meet the 327,000 that is needed. So I gave the preliminary okay for them to go forward with adding middle school sports with the understanding that I had to have approval or consensus from the board that we move forward with that. Understanding that some of the sports that we are wanting to add, we would be able to go ahead and get started, but you would not, like for example, competition cheer may not be able to get started this semester because they may not have already, some teams are already formed where they'll be able to step right in, but we still have to hire coaches and get things started. But I did want to go ahead and give the okay to move forward with adding middle school sports. Again, I think it's very important for our kids to be able to connect and get involved, and we should see some behavior type adjustments in offering that to our middle school kids. So any concerns or questions around the 327? Mr. Hagler, am I correct in the 327?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that would include what sports?
Track,
Coordinate would be best to answer that. Yep.
fall would be cross-country and competition cheer, and then the spring would be outdoor track. It also includes athletic trainer support, support for our both middle school and high school,
And the assistant coaches.
and assistant coaches for all middle schools, for the middle school sports to mimic our high school structure that do not already have assistant coaches. So our team, I met with the athletic team soon after that meeting, and they're prepared to jump on this if you all approve.
Is that 327, is that a hard number or is that a guesstimate?
Well, some of it is how much we're going to allocate out to the schools, but in finding our athletic trainers, depending on the years of service or who we find, that salary might be, that might vary. They will be 10-month positions, not 12-month, and so we'll advertise, see what we get. So if one has 2 years experience, one has 10, it might come in differently. Those are the best estimates we have at this time.
And do we have any feel for the number of students that would affect in terms of team sizes and how many kids would be pulled into
Overall
that?
number, no, but I know it depends on the school. I think some schools have clubs already established for some of those sports, so I do think it'll be a huge benefit for our kids. Athletic training support will be huge for not only the middle school but also the high school, because all of our trainers are not able to even cover all the high school events at this point, so that will be huge.
Consensus?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Consensus. Ms. Purvis, do I have consensus?
Sorry, yes,
Okay.
had it on mute, sorry.
All right, good deal. So, Mr. Hagler, you have what you need on that? All right. One of the things that come up, and I want to mention it publicly, we understand that we've still got some step withdrawals that we're working on. Again, I've challenged Mr. Dupere and his team, and we will continue to work with that on the Finance Committee to look for ways to implement that sooner rather than later. And so we're going to look at a possible January date. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but certainly going to be looking for significant savings as we continue to go line item by line item and look for additional savings. And again, this board has done a tremendous job in doing that in the last 18 to 24 months. So I really appreciate the efforts on that. That's all I have for Finance Committee. I'll go back to comments and concerns from school board members. Mr. Holbrook?
Just want to say to the kids, you got 1 week left. Live it up.
Just encourage the community to come out to the packed bus tomorrow and, help some children out.
Dr. Cubot?
And welcome to the new faculty that are coming on board, and we look forward to an exciting school year.
Ms. Purvis?
I'm excited for the for the new employees as well, so welcome aboard, and especially welcome aboard to the superintendent and all the exciting things that we expect to have this year. This will be a great year.
Mr. Tucker, welcome to the table. I'm not sure if you're going to be required to be here every board meeting, but welcome aboard. Looking forward. You say yes? That okay? All right, I'm seeing some head nods. All right, well, welcome aboard. Randy, I know I called your name probably more than anybody else tonight. Nice job on having that information put together and being willing to share that and taking some feedback on future presentations and what we can get out and share with the good things that you guys are doing. So really appreciate that. Students, staff, welcome back. Bedford County is really a great place to be, so glad to have you here. And students, kindergartners, welcome. If you haven't signed up, please call the school and sign up. We need you. So do that. Seniors, congratulations. You've made it. Enjoy every single minute. This will be the fastest year of your life, but also one of the best years of your life. So with that being said, that's all I have from comments and concerns. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Hubach. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
I did. We're out to the beach. We haven't done that as a family. We usually so went out to